Let me ask you a question. How are you doing embracing the very basic concept of radical generosity, in, encompassed in the word, how can I help you today? How are you doing reaching out to just even one person and asking that simple question, how can I help you today? Are you fighting the generosity in you? Are you leaning deeply into it? Are you not interested in it at all? Or if you have taken that extremely bold step to ask openly, it only needs to be to one person, but to ask openly, how can I help you today? You're going to see that it makes all the difference in the world. And today we want to talk about that. Okay. And I look forward to you commenting and joining in live with me on this as we talk today about how much the generous spirit, the generous, open, radically generous heart is the one that finds the absolutely true, real clarity. Hi, my name is Steve Kidd. I'm a third generation minister, international best-selling author of now 39 books that have all made it to number one. We're working on number 31, making it to number one international, like the 38 before it have. And I have had the wonderful privilege of helping people write, publish, market their books to bestseller, but ultimately we're a marketing company. We always have been. For the last 38, 39, whatever years it's been, we've worked with everyone from stay-at-home moms to, multi-billionaires, helping them clearly say, do, and be who they are, because clarity is powerful. And although I've worked with books, it's interesting. I even came across it again today. Somebody who worked with me for a little while, and now they have their own quote unquote company as a book publisher. Don't even get me started. But good for them. The truth of the matter is that if I included all the people who have joined my Facebook group and learned my program, who I did a book with them, and they are now a quote unquote publisher, all of those people, that 5,000 number that I've talked about would be more like probably 20 or 30 or 50,000. It's an enormous number of people. And here's the thing, and I want to give you the real, okay? I always do, but I want to make sure you understand. Radical generosity is going to open you up to people who are going to take advantage of you. Don't ever get it twisted. Don't ever think that, if I'm radically generous, the universe and everything is going to protect me and keep me from having people steal my stuff. In fact, actually, radical generosity is when you get to the place where you see the people stealing your stuff and you invite more people to come and steal more of your stuff. I'm actually, and if you want to be part of this, absolutely, I'd love to have you be part of it. I'm actually creating a whole concept where all of the stuff that I've done in the world, all the things that I'm a quote unquote expert at, all of those things, I'm actually creating a methodology where, I can allow somebody else to make massive amounts of money. There are a fairly large number actually, of people that I've worked with that I've made millionaires, and millionaires that I've worked with that I've helped double, triple, quadruple their income. And yes, I have worked with, and I was so honored to work with, my one friend that is a billionaire. And I can't say that the work that I did with him, made him a billionaire. He was a billionaire before I ever met him. But I can say that what I've done in the world, he was impressed enough with that he recommended people to me. And he spent the latter parts of his life, anytime, he worked with somebody, he also was recommending my service to them. That's a pretty high compliment. If you really think about it, a multi-billionaire who, could walk into the largest of any publishing companies in the world and just say, I've got this person and I want you to do their book. And just by the nature of the amount of money and followers and prestige and all that he has, they would pretty well sign just about anybody he told them to. And if they didn't, he would move down this, next door to their rival company, and they would. And he would, was savvy enough that he would just flat out tell them, if you don't do it, I'm going next door, and they will. Um, so it was a fairly, intense kind of a cool thing to be able to just have friendship calls with somebody on that level. But I'm all about how can I help you today, and I want to see you succeed. You see, I want to be in a place where trillions flow through me. We've talked about that wide conduit, about the radical generosity, about the fact that the only way you can have money coming into you is based on how much you're giving, not how much you're willing to give, not the concept of, hey, once I get $100,000, I'm going to give away $10,000 or $100,000, whatever that number is. It's about now that I have $2, even if it means I'm giving all two of those dollars. If I find somebody in need, I'm going to give those $2. And you get to the place where you can even oh, this will be fun. This could be the new drinking game for today. Is how many times will Steve sneeze during this live stream? And that could be a lot of fun for us too. And it'll probably happen several times, to the point where I may need to may need to mute my screen and turn off take me off a screen for a second, but we'll try to power through, and you laugh your way through it, or get drunk drinking each time I do sneeze, whichever way you want to do with it, because it never comes in ones. It comes in 3s to 10s to 50s to 100s when it comes to me sneezing. It's just the way it is. God made me perfectly the way that I am, including all the sneezes. Yeah, that took me completely off track. Oh, man. All right. Thank you for keeping track, Patricia. Hopefully you won't be drunk by the end of this live stream, but I do hope you have something really cool that you're doing there. Yeah, seriously, though, the whole concept of being radically generous is allowing yourself to sneeze live on camera. No, that has absolutely nothing to do with radical generosity. It just has to do with being Steve. And usually these happen before, or I try to get them to happen before, but this is pretty much a normal part of my day. And we will integrate this into the live stream and still show up powerfully. Because when you are willing to be radically generous, you're willing to be completely embarrassed too. See, I'm here to give to you. And there'll be another 1 or 20 more sneezes throughout the course of this. And we're just going to keep moving forward, because I'm here today to help you get clear. Okay? If you're clear, and if you're consistently doing the thing because you want to connect to people, then you're going to make an impact. There's no way that it can't. You see, the law of reciprocity, and there are some bad uses of the law of reciprocity. The law of reciprocity is often misused, and I talk about this in my book. Oh my goodness. And that's that the law of reciprocity tends to be taken the wrong way, where we give with the thought of what's going to come into it. What's coming back to us, versus understanding the law of reciprocity has to do with the more open-hearted and the more giving that you are, the more that people are going to give to you. That's 8, that's 9, that's 10, that might be 150. I don't even know. I've lost track completely. Hello, Willie. I'm glad to have you here. You just missed the total sneezing session, or you were here for it and you didn't say anything. It may not be over, so you might get to get a few sneezes and be in the Steve sneezing drinking game as well, and that can be fun. But here's the thing. The law of reciprocity has to do with the fact that how radical generosity really works. And it has to do with the fact that you cannot, and I'm just going to use the phrase third generation minister, so I'm going to say it that way, and then we'll massage it if we need to. But you can't outgive God. It's just not possible. And it has to do with, and we've talked about this a little bit, it has to do with the nature of the laws of how our universe is. And I don't care what you believe in. I'm not here to proselytize you to a religion. Anybody that knows me knows I'm the least religious Christian that you'll ever meet. Um, I just really don't even really believe in religion. But what I can tell you is the way the universe is formed, nature abhors a vacuum. That's a science. That's a physics concept. Okay, a vacuum cannot stay vacuous and empty. It must be filled. Okay, the reason why black holes, which are technically a theoretical when you start getting into theoretical physics, but they've seen them, with some of the high end, my I was going to call them microscopes, but radio antennas and things like that. And the whole concept of why it's has that massive sucking power that it has is because the law of the way the universe works. It wants to, needs to, has to fill that empty space. If I just stopped, and I'm not talking about I'm having a sneeze fit, I'm talking about I just stopped and stared at you. Okay, it creates an uncomfortability. Okay, that's why the old concept in sales is you ask a closing question and then you shut up. That's why it works, because of that bigger law of nature that has to do with the fact that nature abhors a vacuum, that empty space must be filled. Now, the problem with a lot of salespeople is that they're uncomfortable in the silence, and so they fill it before the client gets to their uncomfortability level, and they talk the person back out of the sale that they were going to say yes to. Now, I don't want to go off into sales training, but I do want to stay focused on this whole concept of a vacuum, and I want to talk about it specifically to radical generosity, because the more you give, and giving has very, very little. I mean, money is a tiny piece of it, but it has very little, honestly, to do with how much money you open your wallet and give out. That's the smallest piece of it. Because I know a lot of people that give a lot of money into things and they're not being generous at all. Okay. And I don't mean to be harsh with that, but I'm just going from observation. Back when I lived in Washington, and I was a consultant with the Kirby Company, we had the lady that owned the company had a silent partner that had created a finance company just to finance the sales that we did. And the guy was a multi-millionaire and the most miserable person you'd ever meet in your life. And he had given and gave. He knew his accountant could tell him down to the penny exactly what was the maximum amount he could give every year and write up on his taxes. And he always did. And right down to the penny. But he didn't do it because he was generous at all. He was literally the living, breathing embodiment of Ebenezer Scrooge. I'm not talking about at the end of the book or the end of the movie, where his heart grows and he's a nice, kind person. I'm not talking about Scrooge McQuack, who was very kind and generous to to his nephews at least. I'm talking about the beginning of the story, Ebenezer Scrooge, the miserable, horrible, awful, yucky guy that he was, and that's who he was. He built this beautiful, amazing house. Gorgeous house, giant piece of property, several acres, sprawled out, beautiful, brand new house, built custom just for him, totally to his specs. And now my nose is just going to run off my head. That's fun too. Okay. Built this house, everything he ever wanted the house to be. And it was just north of a town called Mount Vernon, Washington. And when he bought the property values, they were on the rise a little bit, but they hadn't gotten to the place where they are now. It was still a really good area to invest. And there were a lot of people from California, like he was, that were buying up all the property there. And that's why the property rates went too. I mean, I lived in a house, the first house I moved to, this has absolutely nothing to do with radical generosity, but it'll give you an idea of economy and how it works. Because of the people buying up the property, the house that I was renting, it had sold 2 years previously for $39,000 and was back on the market for $139,000, 2 years. And that's the way the market was. And he had bought before that, built this great big beautiful house for himself. And then what he did was he didn't just build, and I've lived in houses that have, like the walls around them and the gates. And they're kind of cool, to have your own little sanctuary. I like tall fences for my backyard and things like that. But his wasn't like that. His was like 10-foot tall cement slabs with, really legit, like razor wire on top of them. And I drove by it when it was done. I was never invited to actually go over to his place. But there was others, like the secretary that worked there at the office had driven paperwork over to him several times. And so, I could tell you about all the interior and stuff, but I drove by it right after it was done. And it was the saddest thing you'll ever see in your life. This guy, how Creed has a song, My Own Prison? This guy had created literally his own prison. He had imprisoned himself, lived behind the walls, very, very rarely left his compound. And sure, he had all the luxuries that money could buy and everything a person could want, and he was an absolute miserable shrew. That wasn't because of the fact that he didn't give right down to the exact penny, the exact amount that he could write off on his taxes. He didn't really give it. Just because you hand somebody something and say, here, have this, doesn't mean you're being generous at all. And when we give from a standpoint of what's in it for me, we're not giving. We're actually taking in advance. Okay, and so I wanted to make sure you understand all that, so you understand the power of a vacuum. Because when you give out, it creates that vacuum. When you give, and I'm talking about radically generous, true, out of your heart, I just am here and I'm just going to give. Okay, and I got to tell you, I'm just going to be totally brutally, because I always am, upfront with you. I'm actually, I've been toying with all morning. A person has asked me if there's any way I can help them out. It's a very small amount of money. I really can't afford to do it, but I think I can, juggle things around and make it work. And I think I'm going to. From a totally practical standpoint, where things are currently with me right now, I shouldn't. But that's how much I believe in radical generosity. It's giving when it's going to hurt. It's giving because your heart tells you give. Not because you know that it's going to go to the right place, or because you got some giant flashing neon sign from God, the universe, whatever, that told you must give here, but because that's where your heart is. You see, and I'm going this deep into this today, even though, and yeah, you can still get How Can I Help You Today for free, and I can drop the link for you if you need it. But I really want to get back to our 3 C's: clarity, consistency, connection. Okay, connection is a heart condition. To connect to somebody is about your heart really truly wanting to connect. Radical generosity is about that heart connection. See, it's all part of the same thing. I didn't just hijack our lives and go off on the, hey, I put out a book, you got to get my book. That wasn't the intent at all. It was to show you in real time and to give you a field guide for exactly what it's going to take for you to get the 3 C's in place. It starts with your heart. We actually, today we're going to take it backwards because it starts with connection. And then it moves to consistency. Consistency is about that outflow. It's about creating the vacuum. It's about the backside of your wide conduit, your funnel, your pipe, whatever. What's going out? Are you giving consistently from a genuine heart place? Do you genuinely want to connect with people? Do you truly, even when you're sneezing your fool head off, really just want to connect? To really truly be there to help somebody? And then are you doing it consistently? Consistency has both to do with a reflection of that heart connection. When it's happening regularly, consistently, predictably, that's a reflection of your heart. If you're hit and miss, guess what? Your heart isn't aligned yet. When you do one and then you wait, and you do one and you wait, and all the fingers are pointing at me because I'm talking to myself and sharing it with you too. My heart was in the right place, but during COVID, excuses came up that hijacked it. I mean, if I turned on my air conditioner right now, it's not that hot in this room. I had it on just before I went live. But if I turned on my air conditioner right now, and the air conditioner, and I've done some lives where the fan that's behind where the mic is here is on. If those things are running, and I'm truly wanting to give for the person who really needs to hear what I have to say, the most they're going to want is, hey, I can't completely hear all of that and I really want to hear it. Can you please help me out? It's just going to make them more want to reach out to you. And the excuse that I used in the late summer, it was like August, that, it was getting frustrating to try to talk over the air conditioner. It was an excuse. Sure, I was in Southern California, and sure, it was, 95 degrees outside. But yes, absolutely sure, I should have and could have. And that was a reflection of my own journey too. My heart was in the right place, but I didn't have the consistency to consistently show you my heart. Instead of being at week 6, we should be at year 6. Okay, year 5, March of 2020 to now, if you're listening live, July of 2025. So year 5, 5.5. But the consistency wasn't there. That was a reflection of my journey. That's not me judging me. That's just an ability to be a reflect and go, hey, I had the right heart. I absolutely know me well enough to know that absolutely that was what I wanted and needed, and I was just pouring out who I was. The consistency waned, and I mean that was after 4, 5, 6 months because I was still learning and growing. Now these lives that we're doing right now, they may change. I may have to change them to where, some days all I can do is pick up my phone and give you 5 to 15 seconds. Because I have a goal to be on the road 300 days out of the year. And maybe that'll change it. Or maybe what I want to be able to do is have a certain portion pre-planned of me being live, speaking on stage, doing whatever, talking to somebody, teaching somebody, have the camera just be there off to the side and let you, kind of tag along for the ride. That's the consistency. You see, it's that check of your heart to see if you're really willing to put your money where your mouth is. Your heart says, and again, like I said, money has very little to do with it, but money's a good example to use. Your heart says, hey, I see that person in need. I should give that person some money. Or I should give that person a sandwich. Or I should smile at that cashier. She looks like she's having a bad day. You're doing it is a reflection of your journey, of where you are. So it's not, it doesn't have to do with the critique of how soft and gentle and kind and giving your heart is, but it does most definitely reflect where you are in that journey of really truly being radically generous. And then we come all the way back around to clarity. You see, when your heart's in the right place and when your actions are in line with your heart, see, that's what consistency is. That's your actions being in tune, in line, aligned with your heart. Yeah, money is a cheap form of value. Time is priceless. Kindness, kindness is even more than time, because kindness takes next to nothing and is something that we spend way too much time not doing. How many times, and I'm not talking about being grumpy to a cashier, I'm just talking about being nonchalant or not overly friendly. And it doesn't mean you got to be all, weird with them. But how many people in that line give them a great big smile or say, "Hey, thanks, I really appreciate it"? How many times do you suppose a cashier hears in a day, "Thank you"? They're there working in Walmart under those horrendous lights that Walmart does all their stores with. And yeah, they got that little rubber mat that goes underneath their feet, so they're not standing on the horrible floors that Walmart has. But they're still just standing on that little mat, and they're standing there for 8 hours going, is there anything else I can help you with? Here's your receipt, And yeah, they can get robotic about it. But your gratefulness, your generosity, your gratitude isn't based on them. It's based on you. Now you have a music video in your head. All right, good. And in that heart condition, in that consistency, the expression of your heart condition, that the generosity of you, that's what this speaking is. It's the ultimate version of you being generous, because you're coming on with a genuine concern, care, and compassion. And you don't care if nobody's on live or if a gazillion people are on live. All you care is that you want to make sure that you're telling the person that needs desperately to hear what you've got to say, that they hear that message. That's radical generosity. And when you put yourself in that place, you check your heart, make sure you have the right heart condition. You check your actions, meaning you are consistent, and you just open your mouth and you speak. The message gets clearer and clearer and clearer, and clarity is powerful. Now, that's not to say, see, because the other two you can do sort of by yourself. Okay? If your heart isn't in the right place, okay, then you need a heart specialist. And I'm not talking about a medical doctor. I'm talking about somebody who can look at you and help you have that soft, kind, giving heart. You need to be in that place, because without radical generosity, you're never really going to make the impact that I know you want to make. So yes, if your heart's in the right place, or if you know where your heart needs to be and you don't have a heart condition, and none of this has to do with medical stuff. Okay, we're talking about that spirit of you inside of you. Then you don't need an exterior person for that. But if you do have that issue, then you absolutely do. You need somebody to come in and help you with that. Same thing's true with consistency. Consistency is more than any of the three C's, the thing you absolutely can control. You can go to your calendar right now and you can block off a specific time every single day and have that time be sacred. This is the time where the mercy that met me in the dark, I'm going to bring to the person that's in the dark behind me. I am going to be the beacon of light that is going to allow that person lost in the dark to experience the same mercy that I've experienced. You can control that. Now, are there some really incredibly cool things that Patricia does that can help you with your scheduling and with systems and processes to help you be able to get that? Yeah. And if you're struggling with hey, it's always taking me 3 hours to get together what I'm going to talk about on my live, well, then, yeah, you need some help. Blocking off that time is something you should be able to do. But if you're struggling being consistent and your heart is for sure in the right place, okay? If your heart's not in the right place, then you got to go back to what I just said. Then you need a coach on that. But you could have the right heart, take the initiative, and schedule off so that you can be consistent. The clarity you're going to need outside help with, because you need more so than what any of the AIs can help you with. You need somebody that can hear what you're saying and hear what you want to be saying and help lead you to that. And that's where I come in. That's what we're here to help you do. Yes, first you need to just open your mouth and just start consistently connecting. And your radical generosity in that, marking off the time and giving away of yourself at the level of clarity, and it could be absolute abject confusion, you need to still start doing it. You don't go and get a coach and get clear and then do it. You do it. Begin the process of being clear and then bring in somebody that's an absolute expert at helping you get clear while you're doing it. It's nearly impossible to move a person who isn't already moving and doesn't want to move. Somebody that wants to take another course to get to a place where they then will move, they almost never learn anything. You could be going in completely the wrong direction. You could be totally lost. But if you're moving, that can be changed. If you've got the boot on the tire of your car, not even one that the police put there, but you put it there yourself, and you're grounded in the mud, a flood came through and the mud waters are up, to the point where you can't even open the door and get in the car, and the tire's booted anyway. You're not going anywhere. Doesn't matter how great the coach is, it's not going to move the vehicle. But if you're moving, even if you're slowly moving, whatever you're doing, if you're moving, even if it's a complete turnaround or just a little 1-degree shift, sometimes that 1-degree shift is more powerful than when you turn around and go completely the opposite direction. And most of us, we just need a 1-degree shift. I'm always looking for that 1-degree shift. And sometimes it's not there. Sometimes you're right on track. You just got to go through the process. This whole concept of going live is the long game. This isn't the, do one live and then you're going to go totally viral and you're going to have a gazillion people that watched that one live, and, half of a gazillion people are going to buy your product, and then, you're just uber filthy rich, and then you can just live as a dragon and sit on your dragon horn. It isn't like that at all. You give and give and give and give and give, and the vacuum is created, and you have it flowing through you. And you don't hold on to any of it. You just keep giving and giving and giving, and more keeps coming through you. And the conduit keeps getting wider and wider and wider, because the more you give, the more that you're going to give. And the more that you give, the more that comes in for you to be able to give. And it just continues building that. And it all starts from that radical generosity of, how can I help you today? You got to ask yourself that question first. Go look in the mirror and say to you, how can I help you today? Mean it, own it, take it, be completely with it. And then do that thing. You got to be radically generous to you too. And then pick up your phone. Hi, my name is, what I do is, and what I'd love to share with you today is. And then you just share it with them. 5 seconds, 5 hours, whatever it takes. Just be radically generous with, yes, that treasure of your time and that treasure of your genuine concern for them. That'll shine through. You can have $0 in your bank, your life be a complete chaotic mess, but you have a good heart and you really want to give, and you consistently do the thing that you can do to be radically generous, and it will work. Again, it's not the short game. It's not the instant gratification microwave society thing. It's the long game. It's about making you the person that you're destined to be over the course of your whole life, not for just a minute, not for just a trend, not for here today, gone tomorrow, but for life. Yes, so that you have, because when you're in that wide conduit, you got a bunch of money flowing through you too. That's a great life as well. It works on every area, the output, the what's in the middle, and the what's coming in. When we're focused on the right things, deep, heartfelt, genuine connection, abundantly aligned to that heart, consistent delivery of all the clarity that we have now, and a deep, genuine desire to get the coaching that you need to get clear. And so, yeah, after all that build up, I am actually going to invite you to drop the word clarity. Let's work together. Okay, we've got the Visibility Amplifier community that we can bring to you to do things with you for free. I have a $197 program that can bring you into a small group of people, and at a very, very minuscule amount of money, we can help you get to that point of clarity. And if you are the shiz, you just are doing the stuff, oh, have I got some programs for you. Willie and I just outlined on Monday our $100,000 a year program. It's for the people that are the titans of the world. They're getting it all done, and deep down inside, they feel like a complete failure. Because you might be like that guy I was referring to. You have billions of dollars. He was actually a multimillionaire. He wasn't a billionaire. But you have millions of dollars, and you've literally built a prison for yourself, and you're a miserable individual. And I have programs for people like that too. And we're going to all do it to help you get radically generous, to make a difference. And all it takes is PM me the word, DM me the word clarity. Drop clarity in the comments. I'll put the link for it so you can go and get How Can I Help You Today if you haven't gotten a chance to get it yet. More than anything, though, the generous heart speaks the clearest. Because the more genuinely generous your heart is, the more radical your generosity will be. And the more radically generous you are, the clearer your message will be. You'll be amazed the amount of clarity that will come when your heart's in the right place and your delivery is aligned to that heart. When you see and know and feel that person, and you have to help them, the generous heart speaks the clearest and makes the biggest impact long-term in the world. Don't look at the people who may have millions of followers. Look at the one person who's desperately in need of that beacon of light that you are, and reach out to them. Do it today. Drop me the word clarity. Let's talk. Let's get you radically generous and radically clear. And thanks for doing it. I appreciate you. You're amazing. I hope you're happy, safe, warm, and loved, that you have a great week.